handling? I don't know.
Or I know you sent this question in, so feel free to expand upon it.
Yeah, actually, let me describe what I tried to find out and what I did find out, and then see if anybody has any thoughts about it, or whether or not they already know something about it, or I don't. So what inspired this was because there was somebody who we thought was going to do karaoke on the station. I thought it was pretty cool, but obviously, and even when you go out to a club or something, I assume that they had to have some kind of licensing to be able to do that. It's that ASCAP, yeah, you remember? And so I called them. It's ASCAP, right? That's the word I'm trying to remember. What they told me on the phone was that all of the public access stations, I assume you meant in the US, are under a license with ASCAP already, and that you can use any songs you want for broadcast, but you can't do something called sync license. So in other words, sync licenses come from a different source. Those would come from the individual artists and the agents and that sort of thing. Sync licenses he defined for me, and this is where it gets a little great, because he defined for me that a sync license would be if you have a video, if you have video, then if you sync it with audio, if you have an audio track with your video, that's syncing. And so therefore I said, well, okay, so that means that we can't put it on our video on demand, right? And he said, yes. And then I asked him a couple more questions to try to be more specific about what, he said, yes, we could broadcast. Now with recording it, of course, can we rebroadcast it, or does that count as syncing? And I think the answer was yes, it does count as syncing, and therefore we couldn't do it. But I am a little fuzzy on that part of the answer. So, anybody else has any thoughts on it? Or,
I think you need a copyright lawyer.
yeah.
Is there a lawyer?
Call Ken Parker from last year's phone meeting.
Yeah.
He would know.
Yeah?
He's in New York.
Or make the figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it seemed to me, from his definition, that there was gray enough that maybe there is no 100% answer to everything. So,
It's probably not a simple answer, that's for sure.
yeah.
I think my personal opinion, the broadcast piece is separate than everything else. Like if you're broadcasting something and you capture someone playing a song, you're safe. If you did karaoke, that's that's where you get really into the weeds of broadcast, rebroadcasting. So, that's very designed for the music. And like you said, the sync license, where if you're making a 30-second or 60-second PSA and you use a copyrighted piece of music,
Yeah.
that's very specifically syncing the music and the video. If it's in the environment you're in, that's always been my general rule of thumb. That's not a legal opinion, but that's always been my. So events, games, anything that's got music, I understand that ASCAP covers us. We're covered through the cable providers for that. So that's my take.
But Zach, kind of going off what you said, I don't know if anyone else has run into this issue where if you're broadcasting a game, you're also putting on your Facebook or your YouTube, doing it live. Is anyone else getting flagged?
Yep.
Occasionally,
All
down background.
But to that end, if I try to use the stream through our cablecast as opposed to YouTube and Facebook, I can't shut myself down. Well, I could if I want to.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the question would be, are the crawlers going to be getting smart enough that they can get into VOD? And then the other one, I was thinking, probably with our scroll, I'm thinking that we could get away with it because it's not really syncing the video to the music. You just happen to have the music in the background. So that's, again, gray for me, but, and Ken Parker was with whom?
He's out of Newton.
Newton?
Parker Keogh, attorneys at law, probably.
Oh, he's an attorney.
Yeah, he was our speaker at last year's meet and greet, and he did an amazing presentation on copyright and fair use and all that, so I
Oh,
always
really?
recommend.
Is that recorded?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it recorded?
It should be in our
I
video.
think
Yeah.
Alex recorded it.
Yeah, it is.
On,
You should watch it. It was
On
great.
MassAccess video.
MassAccess.
Yeah.
Make sure you log into the website.
Yeah.
Go to more resources. Under the members tab.
This is only, this is only like tangentially related, but as far as audio behind like a bulletin board or things like that, I don't know about all of you, but I absolutely hate the, copyright-free music that you can get from places. It sounds terrible, and I never want our channels to have the public access feel, so I stay away from that as much as possible. We at the station, we do a lot of music because we're all very passionate about music, and we do a live jazz improv series. We actually use the recorded audio from that on our bulletin board in the background. Because it's improvised, it's not even a cover of a song. It's
Right.
literally, a new song every time it's written. And we've done 7 of these jazz improv nights, so we have about 20 hours of audio without repeating anything. If anyone would like that MP3 file to add into your bulletin board, let me know. I can shoot it your way. And shameless plug, here in Springfield on Saturday, we're doing our 8th community jam. So come drink a beer and listen to some live music.
Well, my wife was thinking about doing a show with storytellers and musicians, and we are aware that if they wrote the song, they came up with the story, we don't have to worry about any kind of fees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know you had another question, because you were really great about sending me topics in advance.
Oh,
About issues running small cable access stations versus large ones, so if you want to
Yeah.
kind of.
Well, this is, we're down, so Berkeley, Mass, nobody's even heard of it, is near Taunton, Mass, and it's a town of 7,000 people. I think we are short, we don't have a lot of subscribers, I'm assuming, and I guess Dave is going to help me figure that out, but,
I'm sitting at my desk, I can tell you.
yeah. So, we're kind of newly formed in a way. It was just a few years ago that the selectmen decided to have a new committee, and then my position got a little higher, and so I'm just sort of the one-man show there, really, plus camera operator. So, the challenge then, and of course I'm assuming it's always a challenge, but especially with a small town, of some very shy people, because that's probably why they moved to Berkeley, is getting producers to come in and inspiring them to do different things and be creative. And so that's one of the, obviously money's the other challenge with a small station. Our committee is a little bit out of it as far as, they're really good people, they're a really good committee. They don't know very much about public access, and so I've been trying to get them to come to these kind of meetings or do something like that, or go to other stations, and they haven't done it. So, so if some of you guys are from bigger stations and have any suggestions, I basically just network with people and talk to people and go to what I can. And that's how I get producers.
In regards to getting people in, outreach, I'd say go to every single group you can think of, from the Chamber of Commerce to any other group in your community. And I don't know if you guys do any podcasting, but I like to call podcasting almost like the gateway drug to media, because like a lot of people hate seeing themselves on TV, but they're a lot more comfortable sitting in a studio with just a microphone and just hearing their audio. So I would say if you're not doing podcasting, this is my opinion, just start offering it, start promoting it. And you'll get people. I mean, we have a lot of business owners, business leaders that want to kind of promote themselves or their clients or something like that.
Okay.
And it's a great way. And then maybe they get comfortable enough where they say, hey, can we put a camera in here while we're recording a
Yeah.
podcast?
Well, that's what happens with my wife. She wants to do that show, and then she said, well, what about a podcast? And I said, well, a podcast is just what we do at the studio. Just send it a different place. And she was like, oh, okay. And then, I had to remind her, you could do it, you could put video in it too. Yeah, so, and I like that idea because I'm trying to bring in, hopefully, young people, younger than myself. And that's a challenge for me.
Well, don't miss the boat on that, because the Council on Aging is actually, before Dave even says it, is a great resource, because you have people who are looking to, who have been kicked out of the house by their spouse.
Yeah.
So they're a great resource, and they, can lead you to, that can give you enough people to lead you into having time to go and get some of the youth. But definitely
Yeah, well,
not about the Council
The
on Aging.
COA in our town is basically the people I'm that age, so that's my friends. So those are the people that actually, that age level is actually the people who are doing stuff.
But
That's
use them to get you connections into
to
the
younger
schools,
people,
to the theater clubs, and stuff like that.
That's something I wanted to bring up, since you mentioned you'd like to attract younger folks. Definitely working with the schools, if they don't already have TV production class. If they do have TV production classes, you could offer yourself or your camera operator to go guest teach on Fridays. We've done that in Hingham and Norwell. You could offer a video boot camp if you don't feel equipped to maybe handle a class of middle school students, 6 to 8 middle school students, for a video boot camp class on a Saturday or after school or every Tuesday for 6 weeks. Filmmakers Collaborative in Boston has been a great resource for us. If they can use your studio, they will bring an instructor, and they can even bring equipment, or they can use your equipment. So it's called Filmmakers Collaborative in Boston. They're an international organization, but they just happen to be headquartered in Boston. And they can maybe provide a turnkey boot camp system for you. You could promote that within the schools, but I would recommend targeting like middle school, seems to be a really great spot.
Yeah.
And then kind of tracking with those kids and families as they get into high school. Also, scouting groups, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts can earn badges in TV production. And so they might want to do a one-off day where you literally are learning everything and have a video to show at the end of the day, or they host their meetings, or you work with them every Tuesday or whatever the plan is. That's another way to work with that younger group, but especially I like middle school. They're so creative and unfiltered. Maybe they only want to shoot on their smartphones. We bought 10 of the tripods just for smartphones. You can get the lav mics that work with smartphones. That seems to be what kids are more adept at right now, so kind of meet them where they are in creating programming.
Right.
And I wanted to ask regarding podcasting, and it works well with this topic. We have an arrangement with the two towns we work with that we actually, anything we create has to show up on TV. So we can't have a podcast-only outlet. So we have someone in Hingham who does a podcast, and we edit in a visual for that so that it can air on TV. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. I don't know if anyone else distributes audio only, but our two towns don't allow us to do that. So with the kids and the boot camps and those kinds of things, we make sure it results in a video,
Is that actually the towns though? Because I thought that was Comcast. So in other words,
it could be part of the cable contract, but they say according to our
that you have
relationship.
to put it
Yeah,
out there.
but I've always wondered, because I have seen podcast only, but assuming that wasn't
We
going
do
on the
audio
channels.
and some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know related to, for producers, the number one way we get kids in the door is school vacation programs. I know that sometimes we end up being the babysitter for a bunch of middle schoolers, but it gets people in the door. And we've found a lot of good kids that way that have stuck with us all through high school and into college, and I've started to pay. Plug for the MassAccess resource database available to all members. my week-long school vacation curriculum is actually on there. It's like a whole digital storytelling thing that's really, really great. Goes through, like teaching the technical side of running equipment, but also the actual how to tell a story, how to build these things, and there's different stages of doing that. And then at the end, they create sort of their own mini documentary about a community member and edit in photos and use the Ken Burns effect on them. They feel very cool. So school vacation program, for sure. We find that February break and spring break are the best times to get kids. And then with sort of producers in general, it's really intimidating, and if someone comes in and just wants to start their own show, because there's so much that goes into it. And I'd say 9 out of 10 times when someone comes in and says, I want to do a show, they never get to actually creating the show. They just fall off beforehand. We do a lot of staff productions, and we invite community members to assist us on those. In a lot of situations, we pay them as well. That way, they're sort of building the technical skills they need, so then when they want to create their own program, they're not stuck in, how do I operate the camera or plug in the microphones? They already know that stuff, so they can focus purely on content. And it's less to get them over the finish line. So sort of those two things for the kids and adults has been our path.
Yeah.
I was going to jump to Zach, and then I can jump to David and Katie.
As far as the youth program goes, we have a really good program in the school. I actually teach 3 classes at the high school as part of what we do. Building that, one of the things that I found, aside from the camps, is a consistent day of the week that kids know that they can come to produce content, do whatever they want to do in your space. We found that extremely helpful, that we made it every Tuesday after school, and it started with 1 kid, and then it was 2 kids, and then it was 3 kids, and then I went back on 1 kid, and we went to 6 kids, but they consistently knew that was a day that was open for them. We didn't schedule anybody else producing. During that, the kid time, the teen, we did 12 to 16 at the time. We found that helped build the consistency of the availability of our staff. Piggybacking on the camp piece, because you're babysitting some of those kids, charging money is not a ridiculous choice. We've done that a couple times and pocketed a few bucks to help us with some things. And then I lost train of the last thought, but it was relative to what you were talking about before. Go ahead. Yeah, Dave.
About David, Katie?
Old guy alert. As much as I think all of these ideas are great and sharing ideas is great, I have to mention that I think that knowing the specific municipality that you're supposed to be serving is step 1. And if you don't know what's important to the city or town that you're serving, you're not going to be successful. So what works for Brendan or Zach or Katie or anybody else might not work for me or for Carol and Julie. I think you really have to do a deep dive into your own community and assess what's important to the residents there, what's important to the viewers there, and really figure that part of it out too. And tailor your offerings to what's important to the towns that you're supposed to be serving. That, to me, is a lot easier path to success than just trying everything and saying, well, this didn't work or this didn't work, so let's try this thing. I think if you can identify what's important in your hometown, make it a little bit easier on yourself.
Because you have a big garden out there in Berkeley, right?
Well, there's a lot of
A
gardeners.
big botanical garden or something. Isn't it where Tower Hill is?
I don't think so.
No, that's Boylston, I think, West Boylston.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, everybody thinks we're in the western part of the state. We're in the
Oh,
south
okay,
shore.
I thought
Yeah,
Berkeley was
okay.
where something is.
Katie, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Brendan and Zach were saying about getting kids in the door. So what I've found is that it's really important to get kids into your door in middle school, because that's when they're really figuring out what their passions are, and by the time that they get to high school, they're so busy with so many after-school activities and trying to get into college that they don't have any time to start something new.
So you want to get them in your door in middle school. And then with high schoolers, a lot of them need community service hours completed by the time that they graduate. And especially for kids that are in National Honor Society. So that's one plug they give to the school for reasons that they should come in and volunteer.
We offer hours and pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pizza gets kids in the
Yeah, I think the pizza would be the draw.
Pizza gets producers and crew in the door.
Food always works to get people into
Absolutely.
anything. Another thing that, we do, because I have a staff that we don't have the bandwidth to do youth media, we're not really crazy, is that, we do a lot of schools, is that we do a grant. So we have, as part of our agreement with the schools, because we're based out of schools, we have a grant that is open to any teacher in the school district. And, they can use it for media purpose, for, specific media purpose. And it's really effective and it's really great because the teachers get to do some really creative things, we get content out of it, and we get to collaborate. So that might be an idea if you're looking to get content or something like that and you don't have the bandwidth, create a small grant that anyone can apply for and see where that goes.
Are you located in a school?
No. Nope, we were lucky. The town hall is relatively new, so we built the broadcast room next to the selectmen's hearing room, and then we have the guy before me was found a construction company that had a big room, so we have the studio in there.
Is it a 501c or is it a town run?
Town run. Yeah, we're definitely town run, so, yeah, different.
I would just second
Thank you.
what David said, because I think we can't say that enough. Everything we've done is because I spent a lot of time just being out in the community and listening. Not saying anything, just listening, and trying to take down any of my personal filters about what I would like. So one outcome of this, for example, is we have actually taken the whole block of our mornings and we have dedicated senior programming. That came out of COVID, it came out of COA requests, and it came out of our realization that most of the people who are actively watching on a channel are not young.
They're deep in experience.
We're old.
But I mean, it tends to be actually older. We live in an area with older, we have lots of people in their 80s who are very energetic and doing things.
Yep.
And we heard loud and clear that this group of people, they're not gonna go to a computer and look at something. Maybe if we stream some things for an iPad and make an iPad really comfortable, because we found there are people told us they will take their exercise show on their iPad while it's streaming and go to their little basement exercise room and do their thing, and they like having the familiar, known, local COA exercise class leaders. I'm never gonna myself think, oh, that would be a good thing, but listening is how we got there. Our youth stuff, we don't have we have, there's a whole bunch of shit I want to go into, but one of the things we realized that was really important, I also personally believe, is media literacy is critical. I believe as a country we're in the place we're in because we stopped teaching people how to consume information, and we need to explicitly teach it. So 4th and 5th grade, that fits into the curricula. Most schools don't have the capacity to teach it anymore. It falls through the cracks. We had a teacher who was experienced with the grade level, and I can say having an experienced teacher is a huge plus in doing something, because having a bunch of 5th grade molecules bouncing around a room, you really want someone who knows how to manage that. We were able to bring in some foundation money, and we do a program called Kid News 22. We work with 4th and 5th graders. Hopefully this year we're expanding it to some other schools. But again, it was like listening to the teachers, the teacher listening to the kids. They've started to be, you ready for this? They've gone to the first interview at another school, and they call themselves foreign correspondents. That totally came from them, because that's kind of how they see their world. But again, it all comes back to what David said. It's like, this is nothing that we were brilliant in thinking up. We just did a lot of listening. And just, it seems like you listen and you listen and you listen. But your community, they can't always tell you what they want, but they can tell you what they feel frustrated by, what they feel is missing, or they're smart, right? So
I tell everyone who works for me, you're not in the television business, you're not in the production business, you're in the people business. Okay, and so you have to, yes, it's great that you can edit and you have all, you can design systems and operate cameras, but if you can't engage one-on-one with a lot of different levels of people, you're not gonna be as valuable as an employee to this organization as you could.
Kind of going off that, David, too, we're talking about the pulse of your community. How are you getting that pulse? Are you doing surveys? What are you doing to kind of see what the needs of your community are?
It takes time.
Yeah.
Like what mechanism do you do? I know it takes time. I mean, we do that, but I was just curious
I
to see
think you
what
have to
you're
try
doing.
different ways, right, to try to engage it. It's hard to engage, you know. I think traditionally, and you touched on this, Teresa, about traditional cable viewers, right? It's a passive experience. It's you deliver to me and I sit there and just vet it out, right? To get a lot of feedback from that, it's kind of difficult. But setting up even feedback emails, you know, responding to phone calls, you know, how many times a day does somebody call you and say, I was seeing this thing and I didn't catch the beginning of it. I think that's great. It's few and far between now. You used to get those all the time, and now you rarely get a phone call like that. But to be able to engage with someone like that, who knows who to call, that's pretty big.
So I think one thing is knowing your community. It's such a great point, and there are multiple ways to do that, and we can talk about surveys. But in each of our communities, there are signature events that the majority of the community will come out to. So you really need to have visibility there. Not just be there, but you need to be visible. I've seen some great clothing and some great embroidery. Your team has to be visible there. We recently, a board member urged us to get magnets on our car. We found out that sometimes they fell off while we're driving. So when we park, we put the magnets. I was like, wow, everyone's stealing our magnets. No, they're fine when you drive. But having that visibility and being where your community already is, meeting them where they are, just like with the students, meeting them where they are. I love the standing time. You know, we're always going to be here to teach you how to produce at this time. But going to those events and in Hingham, that's definitely the 4th of July parade. That is definitely Christmas in the Square. You have to be there with your setup and engaging and speaking with people. And all of your staff is your community engagement team, to your point, Dave. They are your communications vehicle to talk about, wow, we offer classes, we can teach you this, you just have to have an idea, we'll teach you how to script. We have a learn section on our website with our how-to videos. Our live TV schedule is on, point them in that direction. So I would say, be in the community and be visible, and then you'll get sticky. You know, then people will call you and email you, and your metrics on your website, you'll start to have that one piece of contact form to receive. So if you're there where they are.
Yeah, you saying that, we made a very conscious decision a few years ago to go heavy on the branding. We have, I don't know if any of you can relate, we have a 1998 Ford E350 that hasn't died, so we keep running it. Yeah, I know, it's good. But we, old as it is, spent the money finally to wrap it. We have a very easy to spot yellow and blue color in our logo. So the whole thing is wrapped in this hideous yellow and blue with, our name big and the channel and social media. And we make it a policy, even though it is not the most comfortable ride, although we do have some good cassettes in there. We make it a point whenever we're going to a meeting, to a shoot, to anything, partially for liability things, we decided not to bring our own cars because the suspension on my Prius is ruined after years of working production. But people see this van out in the community, and they recognize us. And whenever we go out, we wear a shirt or a vest or zip up, and it costs us. We spent a couple $1,000s in shirts over the years, between everything. But I have 7 different shirts I can wear, and 3 days a week or whatever. Whenever I'm out in the community, I make sure to have a shirt on. This is the most professional looking one. Like, we also have hand-dyed tie-dyes with our blue and yellow. leaning into the video hippie stereotype that we in Springfield represent so well. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we just went through the rebrand, and it is costly from the regards of like all the apparel, the
Yeah.
swag.
But it's worth
worth
every
it.
single penny for people to recognize you when you're out and about. And I know we all the time show up with a camera, and the big TV news station out in Western Mass where we are is 22 News. And we only opened in 2014, and for the first 5 years, whenever we show up somewhere, someone would say, "Oh, are you with 22?" We'd have to say, "No, we're these other guys." And I do think that showing up wearing branded shirts, everyone starts to recognize us as the other guys.
Yeah.
So.
I have a question. I don't know how you all feel, but I think we have a big identity problem as to what is a community media center. And to your point, it's very different depending on the town or towns that you're representing. Also, how long are our programs? I mean, what we find is people don't want to watch a 30-minute talk show anymore. Maybe the seniors do, and I'm a senior, so I can't say anything, but most of the young people don't. They want little bite-sized pieces of information. So my question is, how many of us take into account when we're doing our strategic plan or whatever we're doing, all the different components that go into not only what we do, where we put it, how we brand it, how long it's going to be, how we study the metrics, and then how quickly we will pivot based on what we learn.
Yes, we stopped those long talk shows, and we had really great community engagement with it, and we had at the time a wonderful host who kind of became the face of Harbor Media, who was so fantastic. But we started chapterizing those longer pieces of content, and then you had another episode and another episode, so you could attract a following. And you really have to brand things that way. In terms of metrics, when we went with, prior it was YouTube and Vimeo, but when we went to video on demand, looking at those metrics, it tells you a lot. And using that one link for your social media, for your newsletter, and all your distribution points with your channel numbers. I mean, we could probably talk about branding channel numbers forever, because it's super important. You're only going to remember one channel if I have Comcast, or one channel if I have Verizon in our communities. But to your point, yes, there are no more 30-minute talk shows. We have a wonderful duo that does cooking and travel. So they'll pick a different location. They actually go to those places and have travel boutique company, and then they do cooking and travel on that, and they'll tell you all these interesting places. That's about the longest, and I wish we could get them to go shorter. We told them more people would watch it if they did, and they're our last standing long-form content.
I know also us, it's hard, and I don't know if other people have struck the same balance. The number of views you get is only like half of the important metric, because some things are like a civic or community duty that we see. So, like for years and years, we didn't do high school graduation since we were founded, because no one ever asked us to, and I wasn't going to offer it. Because we have 9 high schools in Springfield, and there are 3 of us who work at the station. And then the pandemic hit, and we did it in 2020, and now we do it every year, and it eats up, 3 weeks of my life in June. But, all of the graduations are getting between 5 and 30,000 views.
Sure.
So, like, it's hard to argue with that, to say, like, we shouldn't be doing this because, we're getting 100,000 views on graduation season. But I might say, even if they only got 20 views, it might still be worth it to do.
Sure.
Even though, like we did out the math in terms of staff hours that are available, it uses up 5% of our annual hours on this one thing, which is insane, but yeah.
The amount of eyes and views you're getting are worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the PR, just the outcome, and the sharing.
Yeah,
We also get 500 new YouTube subs a year in those 3 weeks in June. So it's,
That's good. Yeah.
and like I don't know of any way to track like where your returning YouTube viewers are from, but with the huge subscriber spikes, we know that doing this does pay off later, because someone is bound to get another video suggested if they click that sub button.
I was like, in terms of the identity, Chris, I remember what I was gonna say based on your, talking about having people come in as volunteers first. the traditional PEG access, right, if we go back to the roots, was getting people involved in producing their shows with their own camera operators, with their own crew. In our community, that doesn't work at all, and I'm sure most of you are very similar to that, where I'm willing to put a staff member on technical directing something so that the people can focus on the content, because they don't want to learn, or they don't have the time, whatever it is, or they don't have 3 or 4 people to come with them. So when you talk about like branding and all of that, I don't know how many people are still kind of stuck on that model of like, you have to come and produce your own with your own crew versus staff resources. Like, I don't know where everybody's at with that,
That's
but I'd
been,
be curious
yeah,
to.
and that's been like the balance of like, we want to have people outside of staff producing content. It's also, but staff have to be involved with, also you want the member to put some sweat equity into it. It's just how much. That's kind of the balance we're trying to find, in addition to all the other things that we've been asked to take on. So it's like, okay, how do we find this balance? It's a balancing act.
Absolutely.
We used to be a membership, I think we all started as membership organizations. We had that taken out of our bylaws about 10 years ago, because we're not a membership organization. We don't have any members. And the few producers we have, we don't make them pay. We just gladly let them come on in, and we have very, very few. So we just started going out where the public is, where the people are, where they want things covered.
And if they want a studio show, we'll do the crew work for
Right.
them, because that's a big barrier.
That's right.
Our
That's right.
equipment can be complicated for some people,
Yeah.
so.
Yep, but whoever said that they do the iPhone, we have kits now that we give to producers that have the little tripod and the ring and the audio, so you can make your own, we'll send it in and we'll help you with the editing, or they edit themselves. Send it in, we'll be glad to put it on. And we're even now, I know that we're not supposed to look at producers' stuff or comment on it because it's their own content, but we're even gonna start putting the producer stuff online, right? And on our channel. We're gonna highlight it so that it's producer content, and we'll just have a disclaimer before it. But it's changed, it's just changed dramatically, and we can't pretend it hasn't. But every community is different, I agree.
One thing we've done, kind of, right, is we've had extremely high density of nonprofits in our world. They're just packed in there like we
Yep.
have the highest concentration of nonprofits in the state.
Yeah.
And everyone starts one, then when they retire.
Yeah.
So we've actually changed our wording a little bit. So we don't talk about community producers, we talk about community partners. And we know that a lot of these organizations either want to or have already made stuff, but no one can find it. So how can we be an aggregator of information? So we have a LCTV family, which is kind of focuses on education in its various forms and families and all their configurations. And we have tons of like environmental education groups, and they're just everywhere. But they're all making some kind of video, but no one knows where any of them are. So we've created a structure that you can find it in one place. And
That's
putting it
excellent.
on the channels,
Yeah.
blocks as well. And we have not done a very good job marketing it, I will tell you that. That is, we had no money to market, it makes me crazy, and it's our probably biggest weakness.
Yeah.
But at least we're taking a step toward how do we rethink what, in our particular community, is a need. It's not someone saying, I want to do a talk show about books.
Yes.
It's, I've got my thing I'm doing, and I'm on an island.
Yeah.
How do we put arms around all these
You're the
islands?
repository, you're the library,
Yeah.
a video, yeah.
You're up.
Yeah, that's great.
Somebody else had something. It's a little bit of a shift, but
That's what the
maybe
roundtable's
you
there
mentioned,
for.
okay, good. Somebody said grants, and it got me thinking, but how many people apply for grants or foundation grant? Like, do you have ideas for what? I mean, in other words, can you give me some examples of things that you've gone out and said, hey, can we get a grant for X?
So, thank goodness, the local, what are they called, Cultural Council grants just got extended to be, needing to be submitted till tomorrow,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Heard that
What
last
we're
night.
gonna submit for is digital design classes. We have somebody on our staff who is an illustrator, and so she's gonna teach classes to the community in Photoshop and Illustrator. and hopefully After Effects as well, though she doesn't think she's good at animation, but she is. So we're putting in a grant for purchasing iPads, stylus, those little gloves that you can wear when you're using the stylus, so that we can start teaching classes in illustration.
Cool.
Closed
Anything else?
captioning.
Oh,
Closed
yeah.
captioning.
So where'd you get your grant money from?
It was a local nonprofit in Winchester called the Winchester Mount Vernon House, and it's a residence in Winchester's a pretty affluent town, so they had some money. And I said that this is a great service to older adults in the community who might have a difficult time with hearing. If we could do this, we could live caption and we could, do captioning on replays. So they basically paid for all the upgrades we need to do to our Teleview system, and we took on the operational cost of, the minutes. But what I'm trying to do at this point now is try to get some sponsorship for closed captioning as well. So provide that service, be able to promote that service, and not have to pay for the service.
The Mass Cultural Council has a lot of money also. Yeah, we got money from the Cultural Facilities Fund to buy a bunch of gear to turn our studio space into a performance space. So now I actually have some nice line arrays and kick-ass subwoofers and everything, so we can do some real music.
We've been a part of other people's grants, like in this kind of post-COVID world, there's a lot of grant money out for chambers of commerce for economic development, open for business style campaigns. So we've teamed up with South Shore, Marshfield, and Situate chambers on there, kind of promoting local business in this post-pandemic world where they're getting grant money and they're paying us to produce content for it.
There's a lot of ARPA money out there that's
a
funding
ton.
a lot of that. So I mean, if you do government stuff and you haven't applied for ARPA money yet, like, hurry before it's gone, because there's a lot of pools of money. It's being managed in different ways. Some is through towns, some is through counties, some is through state. Different parts of the state are managing it differently, but money came to the state, got pushed out to different bins. So I would, if you haven't looked at ARPA dollars, it's there. I think that's probably part of what you're seeing from some of the chambers.
Yeah.
Because in some cases, the chambers are becoming nexus for distributed funds.
Can you say what the acronym is?
It's the American, what is it?
Rescue Plan.
Rescue and Recovery Act. It was post-COVID, bailout is out.
ARPA, just Google it and you'll find it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you
That, you just brought up something that I've actually been trying to avoid in a way, but if other people have ideas about what we can do, or what we can kind of get away with entertainment, because the reason that I was kind of joking about that, but my wife and I are both entertainers, so I have to suppress myself as the person running the studio, but I think she's gonna she wants to do something with, I mentioned storytellers and musicians, but is there anything that we can't do? I mean, is there stuff that,
I think a lot of it is based on how your organization is set up. I mean, we like to have a good time in Springfield, so we'll do shows until 11 and have beers and pizza and everything. But if you're part of the town and in a town hall, that might be a little trickier.
Or in a school.
Or you're in a school like us.
School is the best.
Right.
The beer first had to go.
Yeah.
Root beer.
Yeah.
But let your personality shine through, don't suppress that, because that's part of probably why they hired you, right?
I'm not sure about that. But it does help me to feel inspired to do it, yeah.
Have you tried to regionalize it all with the towns around you? Have you? I mean,
That's another place
You're so
we need
little
to
and-
be really careful.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because we are regionalized as far as the high school goes with Somerset, but Somerset, and I have to be very careful about what I'm saying, because I don't know, there might be rumors involved that might not be true, but as far as I know,
This is being recorded.
I'll have to be careful. So there's been some issues, others, I'll just generalize, back and forth between the request for Berkeley to put money into the schools who are now doing the educational part of the PEG.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I can
Okay.
say.
Yeah, so just one suggestion, if you're looking to get into, live music or events, and for anyone else, we've actually partnered with a local production company that puts on like real big concerts and used our events as a theater program of sorts. When I put on concerts at our studio, I'm running max like 3 or 4 monitors, and like it's not a crazy complex setup. So we'll have people who are looking to get in with our local audio provider come and hang out with me to learn what an aux bus is and pre-fader or post-fader, which one should I use, and things like that, because it really is low stress, and honestly, if things break at my show, it doesn't matter, I'm doing everything for free anyway. We're not charging tickets, is what I'm saying, but these companies like it because their new people have an opportunity to learn and experiment in like a lower stakes environment than, like a show where people are paying for tickets at a theater. So we've actually gotten help from people who are really interested and competent through that partnership, and it's like a win-win both directions. And then once the people are good enough, I start paying them. So
Community theater.
no, it's like a concert provider. They'll like do big shows and stuff. So.
But they can't charge, like you're not charging money, right?
No, it's just like a partnership with them, using us as like an educational resource almost.
Oh, okay.
Works
So
really well.
in other words, they're sort of promoting themselves by being there.
Yeah, when they like hire someone,
Yeah.
and they're just doing like stagehand work, like easy dumb stuff, they'll come hang out with me to learn some of the more advanced stuff in like a low pressure environment. So it's worth reaching out to local companies to see if, they have people who they can, like they pay them to come to me. So the people are getting paid, just not by me, and they're there learning how things work. So it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, we had one of the things we've had so far is a local, it's basically a community theater, because I know they're nonprofit too, so they came in and talked about their show. And it was cool. It was actually one of the nicer events we had there so far.
Great, well, everyone, thank you so much. This is one of the best roundtables we've done in that fall meet and greet, so give yourselves a pat on the back. And I really thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, MassAccess, for always doing this. This is amazing.
So-
Absolutely.
It really is.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you for hosting.
I know John, Rep DeCoste and Senator O'Connor here, I appreciate them. We appreciate them coming out.
Creator Awards.
Creator Awards.
Oh, yeah, Creator Awards.
Are
Yeah.
they- Yeah, thank you. Creator Awards are
open now.
open
Yeah.
now, so
Yay.
jump on the MassAccess website to look at Creator Awards and the areas that you can.
January 25th.
Yeah, January 25th.
That's a big day?
6:30.
That's the big day.
Big day.
Are you gonna MC
Yeah,
again?
Loud Boston.
Oh, come on.
Is our MC.
We hope so. Come
You were
on.
great.
And it's free for everyone to come to, so even if you don't submit, come hang out with us in Boston and celebrate everyone's great work.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm sorry, did I miss a date on that?
January 25th.
January 25th, but
It's a Wednesday.
submissions are open on the website.
And do when?
November-
December 1st, I think, November 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
November something.
Yeah, I think so. Also,
Nancy is typically, she's
I
in
think
charge
it's the
of that.
week
She's on
Nancy
the,
runs
After
that.
Thanksgiving, they're
yeah.
How do you submit? It says on the website.
Film Freeway.
Okay.
Anyway, there should be a link on
There's a
there.
link.
Most importantly, thank you to Teleview and Convex who are our sponsors.
Yay.
And thank you for
And thank you to our vendors. So if you haven't gone over the vendors yet, please go see them before you leave today.